I'm 57 years old, and so why did I wait so long to get married? And well, the example was set by mom and dad who have a very good marriage. So I always figured, don't get married until you're really sure. You know? And I just never met anybody that seemed like it was that special, that sort of perfect. You know. And so I had plenty of good girlfriends along the way. I lived with some of them, and it was totally fine. But you know, satisfying, but not feeling like permanent. You know, and perfect. So. I just never even came close to getting married. It was never in my thoughts. And then I was working in the city of Bonnie Lake, and I noticed this slender little black-clothed, black-haired girl sitting in the computer and just very focused. And she looked very intelligent and conscientious, and everybody around her was gossiping and goofing off and eating sandwiches and stuff, and she was just ignoring it all. And there's people all around her that are, you know, had a bad work that it seemed like she was just sitting there looking in the computer and figuring it out all day long, you know. And then I thought, you know, that's an interesting person. I remember actually thinking, I was the planning director. I was thinking, I wonder if I could get her to work in my department. And then I thought, well, I bet it would be perhaps, you know, interesting to have a conversation with her. And so we had a couple of conversations, and we struck each other's sense of humor and kind of touch of absurdity or something, and some of the things each other person would say. And then I had for some time, been going out every weekend on mountain biking trips and hiking trips and other things like that. And living in that area, there's a lot of that around here. So, like around Enumclaw and Mount Rainier and everything. So I asked her to come out with me on one of those trips, and it was like it's the euphoria. I had kind of gotten used to the idea that I did all those things by myself, because who else would want to crash through brush climb a hillside with sticker bushes on it, you know, and she did. She really liked it, and we just had a blast, you know.
She was used to it.
So we did this 2 or 3 times, and it just is so much fun that it starts to feel like maybe we should feel guilty about this, because we both had significant others. I was living with Paula, who many of you know. In fact, we owned a house together, and she had been going with Jake for quite a number of years. And so we more or less, well, I remember mentioning to Jenny, you know, I'm old enough to be your father, so our relationship was sort of like father to daughter or something like that, isn't it? And she indicated sort of, no, not necessarily.
Yeah. Oh, yeah.
So I said, well, then not necessarily for me either, you know? And so we sort of confessed love for each other, but we had our significant others that we couldn't, like, you know, cheat on or anything. So there went by a year in which we kept going on all these hikes together, but we couldn't, like, sleep together. And it took that long. It took about a year with various things to get worked out. And finally she broke up with Jake, and then I broke it off. I broke the news to Paula, and we kept it a secret at work. That was kind of tricky for Al. Yeah. And because we didn't want to be subject to rumors there, but we wanted to handle our own bases first, you know. And then she quit, and I quit. And we got in our truck, and we just drove off to the sunset, because we had these dreams of adventure. And we headed off into the wild blue yonder, and so, you know, why? I just had to mention some of the questions we had at Ginny. She's beautiful and very attractive, but she's very adventurous. She's hardy. She's willing to go where it's not necessarily comfortable, and I have to learn to have adventure. And she loves animals.
Oh, yeah.
And I don't know if y'all realize the unlikeliness it is that I would find somebody who would want to travel in a small boat with me, that small. It's so rare that it's I know of it not existing anywhere. She's like the only person in the world who's like this.
That's correct.
So but so then why get married at all? Well, it kind of comes down to that you discover that you have this love for each other that is sort of a separate object, and you find this thing, so you might as well put it on a pedestal of its own, and that's what our marriage is. A pedestal for our love. And so that's where I thought.
I'm not real good at speeches, but until I met Steve, my experience was that being in relationships is a really bad thing. You know, you make friends with somebody and you think, oh, this could be fun, and then you get tangled up and then you spend years just trying to get out of it. And when you're single, you're so happy. And at least for me, I never sat around thinking, oh, I sure wish I had a boyfriend. That's just not the kind of person I am. I have good friends. I just have a few, and they're very good, and I get all my joy out of being with the people I care about already, And I never thought I'd get married. I mean, it just didn't seem like my kind of thing, But why would you want to spend your whole life with somebody when you just want to get away from them all right? Steve was a very interesting person, and at work he called me a few times, and we had to do work things, but talking to him on the phone, he was always so funny and just so different from everybody else there. It was like this little oasis, the few moments that I would talk to him, and one day I went over to his office. It was the first time we really interacted in person, and I was there for some other reason, and he had been telling me, we got this shed in the back, and it's full of documents, and you got to go back there and clean it up. And finally I was like, well, I guess I'm here. I'll go ask that guy about the shed or whatever. And I went there, and he just looked totally confused, and then he jumped up, and he starts racing around the office, and he's trying to find the key to the shed, and nobody knows where it is. And finally he takes me out there and opens the door, and I'm just expecting, who knows, because the record sale was so horrible and the whole thing. And he opens it, and it's empty. And the only thing in there is a barbecue. And this lady comes by and she says, Steve, you got to get your barbecue out of there.
Can I interject your joke you made at that point? And then her comment was, well, what we should do here is we should have a barbecue and everybody inside, and then close the doors and windows.
Nobody knows that we're in there. See?
Oh.
So she has black humor, which was some sort of suicide barbecue inside the church. So, yeah, she's different.
And then he says, well, I'm going to leave because there's nothing for me to do here. And he says, well, I'm going to a wetland later today, and there's going to be frogs there. Do you want to go? And I was like, oh, yeah. But then I couldn't go, because I had to work. And he called me later, and he says, oh, yeah, there's not really frogs there. The pollution is killing them.
Oh.
So that's kind of one of our first interactions I remember, and it just, being around him, I just felt so happy, but I never thought it was like a romantic thing. I just thought, wow, there's somebody cool, and I connected with him. Like, when I connect with somebody really well, it's immediate. Like, Lena, the first time I sat down with her, she was just so cool, she was perfect. So, that was how it was with Steve. And, but we hung out, and it was always so fun that I looked forward to it more than anything else. It was like maybe 2 weeks, we were planning in 2 weeks, we would go on a hike, and it was like all I thought about, And I didn't think it was anything romantic, and after a while I realized, we're hanging out in some dumb store, and he's looking for a vacuum or something, which is like the most boring thing you could be doing, and I was so happy, and it was so much fun. I realized that, something here is going on that I was maybe not facing, because I was never interested in anybody older, and I didn't really even know any middle-aged people. I didn't know what they were like. I just thought they were probably blind.